Talk about the relationship with the other commissioners. Is there teamwork there? Do you find yourself standing alone from time to time? What's that relationship? What are those dynamics?
Each of us stands alone when our conscience tells us to. Commissioner May famously was the only commissioner who did not vote to take over the jail. That was a 4-1 vote to take over the jail. He looked, when everything went south the way it did, he looked like the most brilliant man in the room, didn't he? Commissioner May and I agree on a lot of things, and we disagree on a lot of things. Commissioner Berry, is always, he gets into this stuff on the, whereas most people are looking at the thousands of dollars, he looks at the pennies. So Commissioner Berry does, where things are, where he believes it's the right thing to do, he would stand 4-1. You've seen a little bit, you've seen a considerable increase in the toxicity and a step back toward the drama of the Gene Valentino era. We're looking at sort of a Valentino reboot type of thing just in the last year or two. But for the most part, we actually work very well together, and a 5-0 vote is not should not be the goal of any given issue. And I think what you're seeing is, for the most part, commissioners will vote their conscience, and that's one of the beauties of the way that our system is set up, because what might be right for District 5 is not necessarily what's right for District 2. So you go back to the fire tax. We raised the fire tax so that we would have professional firefighters in every firehouse south of I-10. That was extremely important to me, because I had one firehouse in my district that had a 44% response rate. Okay, that's less than that's less than flipping a coin over whether or not they would show up. And it's not their fault. It's just that the population had grown so much in my district that the old volunteer model just didn't work. The volunteer model is working exceptionally well still up in District 5. So Commissioner Berry stood alone voting against that gas tax, the tax for the firemen, because that was what was right for the people that he represents.
I must admit, though, that it seems like over the last few years, even though there has been very spirited debate and discussion amongst the 5 of you, I've seen a lot of 5-0 votes that I never thought would go that way. So I think that there's something to be said for being emotional and passionate about the people that you represent, because a lot of things do come out and in the end serve the entire public.
That's pretty noteworthy,
in a better way.
Because a consensus is built through a passionate, spirited, informed debate. Think back to the flag issue, the rebel flag issue. That was something that got played around with as a political football. This board, minus Burgash, this board solved that issue. And you had the ones that there were 2 different sides of the story. Me, as a military person, came in with a very different opinion about it, which is the American flag stands alone among all flags, and that's the only flag that's appropriate to fly over our government buildings, except those where they're also Florida state funded. They should have a Florida flag. So it was a change to the dialogue, and as a result, this very contentious issue, which, by the way, many communities end up throwing bottles at each other and getting in physical confrontations. That very challenging issue, this board, minus Commissioner Burgash, he wasn't on, and I don't mean to point him out, except that he wasn't on the board at the time. When you talk about how did the rest of us get along, we solved the hard problems, not by pandering to one another or in some backroom deal, but right in front of the people, right in front of the cameras. That's good government. That's what it's supposed to look like. So.